Hey Roosters, and welcome back to another Star Wars Unlimited Leader Spotlight. Today we're going to be going through more leaders from the second set of Star Wars Unlimited, Shadows of the Galaxy. Let's get right into it. Disclaimer, this is not a meta-analysis. The cards we talk about in today's video aren't meant to be the best cards for these leaders, just some cool options that we found throughout the sets. Also, this is personally just an opinion. So if you don't like it or you think there are better cards or cooler cards that work with each of these leaders, do not be afraid to leave that opinion down in the comment section below. I'd love to take a look at the cards you like and also talk about it. And then of course, not every card that we like is going to make its way onto this list. Some cards that I do think are good with these leaders are going to be cut or excluded simply because either A, they're good with a lot of different leaders, or B, I just don't have space for them. So let's get right into today's leader, which is going to be the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian's a cunning and heroism leader with the Mandalorian bounty hunter traits. He has an ability, when you play an upgrade, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, exhaust an enemy unit with 4 or less remaining HP. Now, whether or not giving a unit a token upgrade, such as experience tokens or shield tokens, counts as playing an upgrade, I'm not exactly too sure on. As far as I can tell, as far as I could check, that was the case. When you give somebody a token upgrade, they do count as you playing an upgrade, but that might not be the case depending on the wording. No word ever says play a token upgrade onto this character. It says give it a token upgrade. And a lot of games, that could be the difference between whether or not certain abilities work or not, like this one for example. That all being aside, this is a pretty cool ability that allows you to exhaust an enemy unit that has a certain amount of remaining HP. Early in the game, this is going to be the majority of your opponent's units, but as the game continues, even when your opponent drops the bigger units, dealing damage to them means that this ability can now be active on them because it checks for remaining HP. That being said, if you control 6 or more resources, you can deploy him as a leader unit. And when you do, he's a 4/7, and he has that another ability which is very similar to the first. When you play an upgrade, you may exhaust an enemy unit with 6 or less remaining HP. The big difference between the leader unit ability and the leader face ability is that A, you don't have to exhaust the Mandalorian, making this ability activatable multiple times on your turn, and B, the fact that you can exhaust an enemy unit with 6 or less remaining HP, which means the cap on the amount of enemies or the power level of the enemies you can exhaust gets a whole lot higher. Let's talk about some cool cards from the cunning aspect that works with the Mandalorian. Start off with Grogu, a 2-cost unit, 0 power, 5 health. He says action, exhaust him, exhaust an enemy unit. It just goes into the game plan. We're going to be talking about in today's video a lot of different units that exhaust your enemy units, because that's sort of just the idea you're kind of going with when you're playing with the Mandalorian. That and upgrades. That being said, Grogu does the first thing pretty decently. You play him down, he has decent HP for 2 cost, and you can just use him, as long as your opponent doesn't kill him, to exhaust your opponent's units, taking out some of their maybe heaviest hitters. Then we also have Principled Outlaw. For cost for 4 on attack, you may exhaust a ground unit. You can also smuggle him in for the cost of 6. Generic is just another unit that's going to exhaust your opponent's units, and that's why we're talking about him here. Criminal Muscle is a really cool one. 1 cost to 1. When you play him, you can return a non-unique upgrade to its owner's hand. Now, in a lot of cases, this is going to be used on your opponent's upgrades to stop them from removing upgrades from your opponent's characters. But in this set, and also just with this leader, and also with this set in general, this ability has a secondary meaning. Because of all the bounty upgrades that are going around, you can actually return bounty upgrades that are on your characters to your opponent's hand. But also, for the sake of Mandalorian who wants to keep playing upgrades repeatedly, the ability to return one of your own upgrades to your hand and then playing it back down is a big yes. We also have Tobias Beckett for cost for 5. When you play a non-unit card, which can be an upgrade, you may exhaust a unit that costs the same or less than the card that you played. This ability is only usable once per round. This is a really cool ability because you're already going to be playing upgrades. So when you play an upgrade, you can use the Mandalorian's ability and his ability to exhaust up to maybe probably 2 different enemy units, and it's a really cool interaction there. But also you can smuggle him in for 5 and Vigilance, which is really important because the starter deck version of the Mandalorian comes with a Vigilance base, and the Mandalorian I think does work the best with Vigilance out of all the other aspects other than Cunning, so this card works perfectly if you're going down that route. Also, you can get into some other exhausting shenanigans with Leia Organa, 2 cost to 2. When you play him, you can either ready a resource or exhaust a unit. Outer Rim Headhunter, 2 cost, 1/3, raid 1. On attack, if you control a leader unit, you may exhaust a non-leader unit. The Privateer Sick I'm sure that's not how you say it. 2 cost, 2/2. While you control another cunning unit, this unit gains shielded. Now this is where we get into a lot of the questions on whether or not giving something a shield is the same as playing an upgrade. Because if not, this card doesn't really work that well, but if giving this card a shield through shielded does count as you playing an upgrade, you can exhaust an enemy unit with this ability here. Spare the target. 3 cost. Return an enemy non-leader unit to its owner's hand. Collect that unit's bounties. Another thing we're talking about throughout this videos is bounties. Mandalorian is a bounty hunter. He likes to collect bounties, and his ability can work not necessarily with bounties, but the idea of collecting bounties is something that does kind of come up with this leader in general. So it's not necessarily directly synergizing with the leader, but it can if you're going down that route. Look the other way. A 0 cost event trick. Exhausts a unit unless its controller pays 2. This can be a really cool way to get some cheeky exhausts in there, and sometimes your opponent either not going to want to or just simply can't pay the 2, and you can exhaust a really big unit. Like a 11 cost doesn't really matter, because unless if your opponent does not have the resources to pay it. Bamboozle's another cool event here. 2 cost. You may discard a yellow card or a cunning card from your hand instead of paying this event's cost. Exhaust a unit and return each upgrade on it to its owner's hand. Again, this is usually going to be used for your opponent's units. You can use it on your own unit depending on the circumstances. If you want those upgrades back to put on a different unit, if you know they're going to die, a multitude of things could be the case, but ultimately you may want to exhaust your own unit to get whatever upgrades you may have put on them back. Asteroid Sanctuary. 2 cost. Exhaust an enemy unit and then give a shield token to a friendly unit that costs 3 or less. Again, if giving a shield token doesn't count as playing an upgrade, the second part isn't necessarily that synergistic, but with the idea of exhausting your enemy's units, the first part does still work pretty well. Then you get into all the bounty upgrades, such as Wanted, Enticing Reward, and Irrefutable Offer. Wanted allows you to, if you don't know, upgrades can be played on any player's units as long as it doesn't say play on a friendly unit or something like that, or a enemy unit or something like that. And so you can play these upgrades onto your opponent's units for their cost, and they still get the stat buffs, but they also get these abilities, which is usually bounty abilities, which are negative abilities, so that's why you want to do that. A Wanted says ready to friendly resources. Enticing Reward is pretty cool. Search the top 10 cards of your deck for 2 non-unit cards, reveal them and draw them. Remember, non-unit cards include upgrades, which is sort of the deck you're playing here. And then Unrefusable Offer says play this unit for free. It enters play ready. At the start of your regroup phase, defeat it. Snapshot Reflex is another upgrade from set 1 that was reprinted in set 2. 1 cost +1/+1. When you play it, you may attack with the attached unit, and then remember it can only attack if it's ready. But the point is, it doesn't necessarily do much over the course of the game, but it does give you that nice little stat buff and that little extra action when you do play it. Jetpack's a cool upgrade here. 2 cost +2/+0. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, give a shield token to the attached unit. At the start of your regroup phase, defeat that token. You can also smuggle in for the cost of 4 cunning. Then we have Vigilance. Clan Ren Rescuer. 2 cost +1 power, 2 HP. When it's played, you can give an experience token to a unit. Again, that's whole thing about giving experience tokens. I won't mention it again. I'll just blaze past the ones who have these type of abilities that give the token upgrades. The Armor is a cool one. 5 cost, 3/5. When you play him, you can give a shield token to each of up to 3 Mandalorian units. The Mandalorian himself is 6 cost, 5/6 Sentinel unit that when you play him, you can heal all damage from a unit that costs 2 or less. And give 2 shield tokens to it. So this works with that Grogu that you may be playing. Works with a lot of other units that we talked about in today's video. But also, giving those shield tokens could activate Mandalorian's ability. Guardians of the Will is a card that's really good for the Mandalorian if you're going into Vigilance. 2 cost, 2/2. It's a set 1 card. The first upgrade you play on this unit each round costs 1 less. You're playing a lot of upgrades, hopefully, during your turn or in this deck. This card can put in a lot of work for you. Razor Crest. 4 cost, 3/4. Restore 2. When played, you may return an upgrade from your discard pile to your hand. It's going to allow you to get your upgrades back that get destroyed because your units die. That's how it works. A lot of times you may want an upgrade that may have been lost due to your opponent using an ability that you didn't foresee, and this is a great way to get it back. It's a good card in general, but it's really good in the Mandalorian. Rickety Quad Jumper, 2 cost, 1/3. On attack, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's not a unit, give an experience token to another unit. This ability, again, only really works with if you know that the Mandalorian's ability works with giving experience tokens, but it's also important to note you get to look at the top card of your deck, but as well as this effect can really help a lot. If you're playing a lot of upgrades and events, you can hit this effect more often than most decks, so it's still important to mention it in today's video. You could also Survivor's Gauntlet, 5 cost, 4/6. It's a Mandalorian unit. When you play it and on attack, you may attach an upgrade on a unit to another eligible unit controlled by the same player. Obviously, you can move around your own upgrades. You can mess with your opponent's upgrades. All in all, it is going to be really good for your upgrade shenanigans. You're going to be playing a lot of upgrades. Now, if you attach an upgrade, I'm sure this does not count as playing it again. So I doubt you get the effect from the Mandalorian with this particular card. But if you do, that's an extra added bonus. Evidence of the Crime is a 3-cost event. Take control of an upgrade that costs 3 or less and attach it to an eligible unit of your choice. In this case, you're going to most of the time be stealing your opponent's upgrades and putting them onto your own characters. And that is just a good way to take your opponent's upgrades away from them. It's really just that simple. And of course, if reattaching an upgrade counts as playing it again, then this works well with the Mandalorian's ability. Top Target and Public Enemy are both bounty upgrades. You give them to your opponent's units. Public Enemy gives a shield token, and Top Target hails 4 damage from a unit or base, and if this unit is unique, hail 6 instead. The Mandalorian Armor is a cool upgrade to cost. When you can attach it to a non-vehicle unit, or you have to attach it to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if the attached unit is a Mandalorian, give a shield token to it. It also gets +1 health, +1 power, and +3 health. The Van Brace Grapple Shot to cost +2/+2. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. Attached unit gains on attack, exhausts a defender. This ability here works amazingly with the Mandalorian and every facet, from playing it as an upgrade to using it to exhaust your opponent's units. On to Command, we have not as many options as I would like for the Mandalorian here, but there are some cool options you can use. Reputable Hunter is a 3-cost, 3/4. Bounty Hunter. If an enemy unit has bounty, this unit costs 1 less to play. The Vanguard Infantry is a 1-cost, 1/2 trooper, but also when he's defeated, you can give an experience token to a unit, if that happens to work with Mandalorian's ability, which I'm sure it does. The Commission is a 1-cost event. Search the top 10 cards of your deck for a Bounty Hunter, item, or transport card, reveal it, and draw it. This works really well with the Mandalorian. It's going to allow you to get those items, which are a lot of upgrades. Some upgrades are items, such as stuff like the Van Brace Grapple Shot's an item. So a lot of the Mandalorian type equipment upgrades are items, so that's really good for that. But also you can smuggle this out for 3. So if you get him for turn 1 and you really have a couple items in your hand, or upgrades in your hand, or bounty hunters or transports in your hand that you want to play, you don't really need it right now. You can always resource it, knowing that on turn 3, or rather really on turn 2, you can play it for 3 and beyond. Take Captures a 3-cost. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. And this is really important because when you capture a unit, you can collect the bounties on them. So if you have those bounty cards attached to your opponent's units, you can quickly capture them, knowing they're going to get the units back, but at least you collected whatever sweet bounties you put on them. Inspiring Mentor is a 2-cost upgrade, +1/+1, attached to a non-vehicle unit. The attached unit gains on attack, and also when defeated, give an experience token to another friendly unit. Legal Authority is a 2-cost upgrade, +0/+2, attached to a friendly unit. When played, attached unit captures an enemy non-leader unit with less power than it. Again, you want to capture many enemy units to hopefully collect the bounties you may have put on them. The Darksaber obviously is thematic with the Mandalorian, or rather in lore, and so you just kind of want to play him. If you're playing Command, you really want to be playing the Darksaber with the Mandalorian, just because, if for nothing else. 4 costs, +4/+3, great stats. Attached to a non-vehicle unit. While playing this upgrade on a Mandalorian unit, ignore its aspect penalty. So even if you're not playing Command, if you're playing the Mandalorian, this is a pretty cool card to add to your deck. And the attached unit gains on attack, give an experience token to each other friendly Mandalorian unit. For a ton of reasons, this is a good ability, but for the most part, being able to play this onto the Mandalorian when he's in his leader unit form, or any other Mandalorians you're probably going to be playing in a Mandalorian deck, is really cool. It's a really powerful upgrade, and it's a legendary, but if you can get your hands on this card and you plan on playing the Mandalorian, it's a good option. There's two different Command bounty cards we're going to talk about. Price on Your Head, Bounties, put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. And then Bounty Hunter's Quarry, search the top 5 cards of your deck, or 10 set if this unit is unique, for a unit that costs 3 or less, and play it for free. You can get out your Grogu's this way if you're playing that, or some other options too. But for the most part, it's just a really cool ability that's going to allow you to sift through your deck and get some really cool upgrades. As for aggression, we have Casca Reeves. For a cost unit for 5 Mandalorian. On attack, if this unit is upgraded, you may deal 2 damage to a ground unit. Dealing damage and hopefully killing some units with bounties on them. Maybe also dealing damage to units to soften them up to kill with bounties on them. Dealing damage to units so that their health remaining HP gets lowered so that they are eligible to be used with the Mandalorian's ability. All of this works directly with the Mandalorian, so it's a shoe-in choice if you're playing aggression. So Land Speeders are create a bit of a cheeky card here. It's a 1 cost, 3/2. It has the ability when played, if you played this unit from your hand, your opponent takes control of it, and then you could use, say, Casca Reeves to kill it, and then collect its bounty, which is, if you own this unit, play it from your discard pile for free, and give it an experience token. So you give it to your opponent to kill, and then you get it back, and it gets a little bit stronger. Then you also have the Covetous Rivals, 6 cost, 5/5 Bounty Hunters. They have grit, and they also have a when played on attack ability. You may deal 2 damage to a unit with bounty. So if you're going for the bounty route, that's a good option there. Sabine Wren's a Mandalorian from set 1 to 2 cost, 2/3. While there are at least 3 different aspects among other friendly units, this unit can't be attacked. On attack, you may deal 1 damage to a defender or to a base. The defender if they have bounty to hopefully kill them, or to the base if you really don't need the extra damage to kill the defender. Zebrellus is a 5 cost, 5/5. When this unit completes an attack, if the defender was defeated, you may deal 4 damage to a ground unit. That can kill a lot of ground units. If you add a bounty to a weaker unit, that can collect you a bounty right then and there. Mace Windu is a 7 cost, 5/7 ambush. When this unit attacks and defeats a unit, ready him. If you're going for the bounty route, Mace Windu can go ahead and clear out a lot of different units, collecting you multiple different bounties, but also weaken a lot of different units, hopefully, so that they work with the Mandalorian's ability, if that needs to be the case. All in all, he's actually a really cool unit that you can drop and attack with multiple times before he gets out. They are on a single phase. The Rokai Gunship is a 2 cost, 2/1. When defeated, deal 1 damage to a unit or base. For obvious reasons, you want to deal damage to units, hopefully weaken them for Mandalorian's abilities, or to collect some bounties on them. Disabling Fang Functor is a 3 cost Mandalorian unit, 3/2. When you play him, you can defeat an upgrade. This is really important because it's going to allow you to mess with your opponent's upgrades, which sometimes can be really darn annoying. And if you're going to be playing the whole upgrade game, you might as well be the best at it. The 1 cost Hotshot DL-44 Blaster is a +2 power, +0 HP upgrade that can only be attached to a non-vehicle unit. You can also smuggle them into pay for 5, I believe, if you have the cunning aspect, which is really important because it's going to allow you to go in there and use this smuggle cost when you're playing with the Mandalorian without worrying about the aspect penalty, because you already have the cunning with the Mandalorian. And then also when you play him use smuggle, you could attack with the attached unit, sort of like snapshot reflexes. Arm to the Teeth is a 2 cost upgrade, +2, +0. Attached unit gains on attack, give another friendly unit +2 power. For this phase, you can also smuggle in for the cost of 4. Infiltrator Skill is another interesting option. 1 cost, +1/+1. Attached unit gains Saboteur. A lot of the times when you're trying to kill some units with bounties on them, they may end up getting shield tokens, because if your opponent knows they're playing some bounty units, they may want to protect them. Being able to ignore those shield tokens or sentinels that may be trying to stop you from attacking those units with bounties on them can be really important sometimes. And also it's an upgrade, so. These 2 upgrades that are bounties are Guild Target and Death Mark. Attached unit gains bounty, deal 2 damage to a base. If the unit is unique, deal 3 damage instead. And then Death Mark also has draw 2 cards as a bounty. So both of them don't necessarily directly help out Mandalorian's ability, other than the fact that they're bounties and upgrades. To finish this video off, let's take a look at some of the heroism cards that work well with Mandalorian. 2 cost, Grief Karga, 2 power, 2 HP. When played, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an upgrade, reveal it, draw it. I don't think I really need to explain why this works with the Mandalorian. Protector of the Throne, 3 cost, 2/4 Mandalorian. When this unit gets upgraded, it gains Sentinel. Again, it works with the Mandalorian for a lot of different reasons. you upgrade it, you gain Sentinel. It's a Mandalorian card, so if you're playing a lot of those different Mandalorian cards, there you have it. Snowspeeder is a weird thing to talk about. 5 cost, 3/6, ambush, but also on attack you can exhaust an enemy vehicle ground unit, which can come into play sometimes. I really only put it here because, again, it exhausts enemy units, which is something you may really want to be looking at to do. You may want to going all in on as when you play as the Mandalorian here. For a card that works a lot more thematically with the Mandalorian, this is the way. 2 cost. Search top 8 cards of your deck for up to 2 Mandalorian and or item cards, reveal them and draw them. Great ability, great search. It's going to allow you to get some really important cards, and it allows you to search, quite frankly, quite a bit of your deck for 8 cards, and you can get 2 cards off of that, so it's a really good trade there. Then, of course, you have the Mandalorian's Rifle. 3 cost, plus 3 power, plus 0 HP, attached to a friendly non-vehicle unit. When you play it, if the attached unit is a Mandalorian, he captures an exhausted enemy non-leader unit. So again, the Mandalorian is going to be capturing units to collect the bounties on them. So this is why this card in particular leads you to play the bounty game plan with the Mandalorian. For some generic cards, build Bounty Guild Initiate. 1 cost, 1/2 Bounty Hunter. When you play him, if you control another Bounty Hunter unit, you may deal 2 damage to a ground unit. Then you also have the Mandalorian Warrior, 3 cost, 3/3. When played, you may give an experience token to another Mandalorian unit. This is, of course, a Mandalorian. And then you also have Rich Reward, a generic 1 cost bounty card. Gives an experience token to up to 2 units, and obviously has a Mandalorian art there in the card. And that's me for today's video. We take a quick look at the Mandalorian here. His whole point is playing upgrades, which can be bounty upgrades on your opponent's characters, but also upgrades onto your own characters to buff your own Mandalorian units. Exhausting your opponent's units down so they can't make good attacks, and then swinging in, hopefully, to win the game. Hope to see you guys tomorrow for the next Star Wars Unlimited Leader Spotlight, where we talk about some cards from the main set itself and not just the starter deck cards. It's going to get real cool. See you guys there. Well, that's going to be all for now, but if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead and watch some of our other videos that we've made on this channel. Also, give this video a like if you thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future content. And I hope to see you guys back at the Roost.